Hello, the long-awaited story time is here. I just want to start off by saying I am not here to completely bag out the company. I'm simply just here to share my experience, knowing that everyone's experience with everything in general is different. I'm going to start from the absolute very beginning. Prior to starting at this company in the role that I was in, I only had supervisor experience. So I was sort of going into this role like I'm going to learn so much. Maybe this is like a career for me, sort of like a stepping stone, if you will. I applied for this company sort of knowing how big it was, but I feel like at the time wasn't obviously as big as what the company is now. So I applied honestly not even thinking I'd get the job, but once I received the call back, it all happened so quick and I got offered the role and I was doing my training and I started at my store. My role that I was in was a store manager role, and within that role you're required to go to conferences, manager meetings, things like that. So when I went to my first managers meeting, it was something completely new for me. I've never met these girls before. And within these manager meetings, you're basically talking about how your stores are going, what you can improve, focuses on for the next quarter. And within this one particular managers meeting, I was asked a question. And I explained how I would deal with this particular scenario. And again, just to reiterate, I'm completely new to the company, a role that I've never been in before. So I answered the question, and the whole room laughs at me, including the three bosses of the store managers. Now, that was my first red flag. I left that manager's meeting going back into the store like, I don't know the feeling that I was feeling. Humiliated maybe, embarrassed, but also taking it on board as like, okay, well, this is how I should deal with this situation instead. And then time goes by, sort of forget about it, I've moved on. And then we'll get to the more recent events. I went down to Melbourne for a conference as part of my role. This was now the second time that I've gone to Melbourne. And the conference is about 3 days, I think. And I had actually extended my trip in Melbourne because my mum was coming down. And depending on what state you're from, there was obviously different flight times. So I just assumed when my state was flying back home, I would leave the same time that they leave. There was no communication to me about, like, if you're staying in Melbourne, you're staying at the conference until the day has completely finished and then you leave. Anyways, unknowingly, I left when my state left. Left as in walked out the front door with the rest of my state. And then someone from head office looks at me with a certain look and basically asks, like, where are you going? Mind you, this was in front of about 20 girls. And I just said, like, oh, my state's leaving, so I just would assume that I would go with them. And obviously we have our big 20-kilo suitcases with us as well that I've just dragged out the door. And after she says that to me, I can feel my face go red, like genuinely just so embarrassed and humiliated. Like, you literally could have come up to me and said, like, hey, just let you know, like, if you are staying, you are to stay here for the remainder of the day, and then when the day is completely over, then you go off. Anyway, so I walk back inside with my 20-kilo suitcase, struggling to get it through the door, like, just so embarrassed, and that just threw me off for the rest of the day. And currently this was my second year in this company, and at the time I felt like I was close with some people. Turns out that wasn't the case. Anyway, time goes on. Flash forward to Black Friday. At this time, I have no 2IC. I've got my SSA, which is a full-timer with me. We're doing the whole prep for Black Friday, and currently in this role, I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing, but just sometimes the way that people speak to you make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. A little bit condescending. So my boss was in store and she was about to leave. She was helping out that day in my store for the prep. And prior to her leaving, she was sort of giving me instructions on like what needs to be done. And I think she could tell that I couldn't really understand like what she had meant. So she looks at me. She goes, "Do you want me to show you?" And I was like, no, like, it's fine. And then after she left, I was like, am I stupid? And I looked at my friend, I was like, did I read that wrong, or am I taking this the wrong way? She was like, nope, I completely agree with you. So Black Friday's done, here comes Boxing Day. Again, this was my now third Boxing Day because my first day was Boxing Day. So this is my third Boxing Day with the company. Biggest time of the year for retail. This is the day where we make literally all of our money for the year. Again, I'm confident in what I'm doing in this role, in this store. And it's not even that I needed help because I knew what I was doing. It's more so the fact that your boss is meant to check in on you, see how you're going, just like regular updates, asking if you need any help with anything. Yeah, I didn't get that. Again, not that I needed it. It's more so like, that's your job sort of thing. And she said she would call me to check in. I never got a phone call. So I reached out and I called her and I was like, hey, I just thought I'd call you because I haven't heard from you. And she responded just saying, oh, I'm actually about to pull into the car park at your centre. I'll be with you in a second. I was like, okay, no problem. I'll see you soon. Anyways, I think that was maybe a couple weeks prior to Black Friday, and then Black Friday rolls around, day after Christmas. Personally, my favourite day to work in retail. It's just super busy. Day goes by really fast. Good vibes in store, and she was in store that day. Anyway, moral of the story, vibes were off, completely threw me off. Yeah. And I feel like it's a known thing if you're looking after a store or you're coming into a store as like a manager or area manager, you basically set the tone for the rest of the store and for the day. That wasn't the case that day. Anyways, we've passed Black Friday, we've passed Boxing Day, and still, like, I feel like you know when something is off. And I was feeling this feeling since early November. I basically felt this feeling until I left because I knew something was going on, but nothing was being said to me, nothing was being communicated, and I just knew. So when my boss was in store, this was probably early Feb, I asked if I could chat to her outside of store. So we walked out of store, we chatted for about an hour, and I was expressing concerns about something going on within the store. And again, the condescending tone, the way I was looked at was just wrong. It was sort of clear in the conversation that it wasn't that major, and nothing was done about it. And this was probably the third time I brought it up with her.